Welcome to the Goalbusters Expert Peak Productivity Tips podcast, where top business experts get just 7 minutes to answer 5 rapid-fire questions about what they do and how they stay productive. Each episode is packed with actionable insights to help boost your efficiency and achieve your goals. Let's dive in and unlock the secrets to peak performance. Well, hello everyone. My name is Robin J. Emden, and I'm the creator and author of the Get Resultsology system and a dedicated accountability coach. My mission is to empower solopreneurs to unlock their true potential, boost their income, and achieve extraordinary success by maximizing productivity, streamlining their businesses, and aligning their goals with their authentic vision and purpose. So, if you're ready to turn ambition into action and transform your goals into reality, you're in exactly the right place. Now, talking of being in exactly the right place, I am thrilled to welcome today Erin Ollila, who is a website copywriter and copy coach who helps entrepreneurs clarify their messaging, improve their SEO, and convert website visitors into ideal clients. With an MFA in creative writing and nearly a decade of marketing experience, Erin blends storytelling with strategy to create standout website content. She also hosts the Talk Copy to Me podcast and has worked with both small businesses and major brands. Erin, welcome to Goalbusters.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin.
You're very welcome. Whereabouts in the world are you, Erin?
I'm in the US in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. So we're quite a few hours difference between us with me being living here in England. But apparently your weather's not great there, but it's beautiful here. And it's usually the other way around, I think.
Well, I mean, there you go. I'll take a gloomy day. It's April here, so it makes sense for me, but I hope you enjoy the sunny weather today.
Yes, and you can always trust a Brit to talk about the weather. So I've just proved that I'm typical. I'm a typical Brit. So shall we start the questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll get the clock up on the screen. And there it goes. Erin, let's talk about what you do, please. Who is your ideal client?
My ideal clients are business owners who are really starting to feel like they've kind of come into their own in business. They've kind of moved past that startup phase where they've done either a lot of DIY or they've just had to do a lot of figuring out, let's say, about like who they are, what their message is, who their audience is. And the way that I like to kind of let people figure out whether they fall into that audience group is whether or not they're really reactive or not in their business. Because at least for me, I wouldn't say I stayed in the startup phase for a long time, but I'd say like life circumstance, having babies and stuff in the early years of my business made that growth a little bit slower, or like just the brain fog around everything that I did and who I worked with a little bit longer. So once you kind of move past that reactive stage of business where you've just kind of been like taking care of things as they come and you're ready to be more strategic with your marketing, you understand a lot of marketing is a longer term game, and you have to just kind of wait for results sometimes, and you feel confident in doing that. That's the great time to work with someone like me.
Oh, perfect. Okay. And you've kind of more or less answered question 2 as well. But if you want to add anything to the problems that you solve, now would be the perfect time.
Sure. I think I can, talk about that a little bit more because I'm a copywriter by trade. As you mentioned, I have my MFA in creative writing and then came to the marketing world. And I think that what people get wrong very often is they think about things like lead generation, which is a lot of what I do for my clients, if you want to put it in one bucket. But they think of lead generation as just getting people in the door, and they forget that second part, which is conversion. So I've always really believed that the type of copywriting I do best and the type of marketing in general that I like to work on with my clients is really the intersection of the two. So, can you do really good SEO, have very strong content or copy? But what do you do to actually get people once they get to your site, your website, or they've read your brochures or whatever type of marketing campaign you're doing? How do you actually get them from lead into client? And that's where my biggest focus is.
Okay, excellent. And that's an excellent place to focus indeed. So, what is one valuable free action that our audience can implement that will help them to solve that very problem?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a two-step thing. So the first I would say for a free option is use any of the free SEO tools and just have run a report on your website. It will kind of indicate what's happening that needs the most attention. If, for example, it's everything is a long time to load, and that means you have heavy images or they're not sized correctly or they're not following SEO best practices. A quick win here is to just log into the back end of your site and fix those. Give your images names. Maybe that means you have to delete them and upload some new ones that are properly sized correctly, or just adjust your website settings so that they're not showing all of your images in the largest proportions on your website. It could mean if you have something like WordPress getting plugins. Um, that's step one. If you want to be, if you're really extra of a go-getter, look at your website and ask yourself, are you actually asking your audience to do something on every page? Does your homepage direct them to your services or your products? Does your contact page explain what will happen once they fill out the form? Go page by page, and I think you'll see a lot of results and a lot of opportunities for things you can work on.
Yeah, well, call to action, I think that's called, isn't it, in the industry? Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Okay, so now we have a better understanding of what you do. Let's dive into goal busting, which is focusing on how to maximize productive time to achieve business goals. Erin, could you share any tips or advice for someone looking to improve their productivity habits, please?
Yeah, so as someone with ADHD, I will say that productivity is a wild road for me because I can either hyper focus and get what an average individual gets done in a month in one day, or I can do absolutely nothing and be a sloth. So my best advice would be to learn how to separate motivation from productivity. I think that that's something that people push together, right? So they say if they struggle with their work one day, like, oh, I wasn't productive. Well, the problem could very well be that they weren't motivated. So maybe they didn't like what they were working on. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to do things that we don't like, right? We can't just stop doing the things we don't like. But I think that there are tools and options on how to figure out where you struggle with motivation and then, set yourself up for success motivation wise. And you will then just be more productive when you've got those ground foundation things set up.
Absolutely, and very elegantly put as well. It's
Thank
a
you.
simple point you made there, but you made it in a very elegant way, which I really appreciate. Thank you. I can tell you have a master's in creative writing. Okay, so finally, what should I have asked you today, Erin, that I didn't? And also, what would your answer be, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. I tried to kind of think of like how I'd respond to some of these things, and that's the one where I was a little stuck and I wanted to put myself on the spot with. I guess maybe a question here could be, how does SEO and copywriting intersect? Like how to be good at the both? Because what I talked about earlier were some technical SEO things. And I chose that specifically because they were free and things that you could do on your own as a business owner. And then the second step was kind of like looking for calls to action. But I think overall, the biggest thing I see with clients is that they don't necessarily have a message that matches the ask or that matches the copy. So, what I would say in regard to doing that is read your copy. It sounds very, high level and obvious, but ask yourself, like, if you were the consumer and you were reading your website, what questions would you have? Like, would the points that you're sharing with them really address their main concerns? A lot of times people have like, oh, here's a feature, here's a benefit, but it doesn't actually clearly indicate how that relates to what that person is thinking when they come to your site and what they're worrying about, or maybe what they're even excited about that you can talk more of.
Yeah, and would you say also it's probably a good idea when you've written something like that to give it a day or two and then read it as though you've never seen it before,
I
because it
do
gives
this
you a
with my
new
client
perspective,
work.
doesn't it?
Yes, I do this with my client work even. Sometimes I just have to just say, okay, I've written it and it's probably junk right now. So I'm gonna look at that 2 days from now and figure out, is it junk or is it gold? And
Yes.
sometimes it's one or the other. And I
Yes.
either fix it or just, pat myself on the back and celebrate with some ice cream.
Yes, or as I often do when it really works, I go, "Who wrote this? I don't remember writing this." Mostly, like, it's like, "Who wrote
Absolutely.
this? This is absolute and expletive," and start again. All right, so that's brilliant. Thank you. And we did all that in perfect 7 minutes. If I hadn't been waffling on, we would even have noticed that the 7 minutes had expired right on time. Thank you so much, Erin. So then the next question is, it's not one of our five, but it's a very important question. How can people reach you? And also a very cheeky question, which is there like a valuable free resource they could get from you? Which of course is another way of saying it's a really good way for them to get familiar with the work that you do.
Well, I mean, they're listening either, on YouTube or if they like podcasts, they can come find my podcast over at Talk Copy to Me, both accessible in podcast players or on YouTube. And they can take a listen on my feelings on copywriting and content and marketing in general. But if they want to learn something more or have a guide that can help them about this conversation we've had today of that like intersection on the words and the SEO for their website, they can just go to erinollila.com/goalbuster and they will have access to my website SEO checklist. And it's simple, kind of like the conversation we've had today. It is actually a checklist. I'm not going to sell you a course or try to teach you everything there is to know about SEO. It helps you understand, like, what do you do on a page? What are the key elements that you really want to make sure you've done? You can check it off as you go. What's a post? What about your images or any other tech things? And it kind of helps people if they're not sure where to start or just if they need that like confidence booster of, okay, I actually did do this correctly. And I sometimes I use it myself, especially if I'm working on a large client project, truly. And I'm like, there's a lot to remember for, you have 100 website pages. Have you actually had your header, your meta description? And it's a great starting place for people.
Yeah. Did you see me leaning in there like, gosh, yes, I so identify with that. You do need these lists because there's so many things. There's just so many things. It's not just a list for if it's just one page. There are so many moving parts when you're doing marketing. You can't remember it all. You need to write it down. So that's brilliant. And I particularly enjoyed the fact that you'd already set up a page with Goalbusters as the word on it as well. It was like you knew you were going to be on today. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. That's brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me on the show.
You're very welcome indeed. Thank you, Erin. It's been great, and I've really learned a lot, and I'm quite inspired by what you've told us as well. So thank you very much for being our guest today, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you, and bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Goalbusters. If you're enjoying it, please subscribe, rate, and review it on your favorite podcast platform. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you're ready to boost your online profits, skyrocket your productivity, crush procrastination, and see a positive change in your bank balance, all within just 30 days, this is your opportunity. Take my free 5-day challenge at www.skyrocketyourproductivitychallenge.com.